Hey, BillO'Reilly.com Premier members, welcome to the No Spin News for Wednesday, September 13th, 2017. So Donald Trump going to visit Florida tomorrow. Feel very sorry for a lot of the people down there who lost, a lot of their entire life, particularly in the Keys where there are 73,000 people living down there. It's estimated, 25% of homes gone and about 65% of structures damaged. But if you know anything about the Keys, a very fragile ecosystem down there. You have one lane highway from Key Largo all the way to Key West, and people live a very casual life. A lot of them live in trailer parks or small structures on the water, that kind of thing. So devastating, no doubt about it. Beautiful place. Love to go to the Keys. And then the west coast of Florida, and the Marco Island and Naples, they got hammered. Jacksonville, as you know, the flooding could have been a lot worse. Everybody says that. That's no solace to the people who lost everything. So Donald Trump will be down there. And as I said, I think the federal government and the states of Florida and Texas have done a pretty good job in managing these disasters. And of course, we're praying for the people in the Caribbean and St. Martin, Barbuda, Anguilla, these islands that are solely dependent on tourism to survive. The American Virgin Islands, St. John, beautiful place. They're going to take them years to come back. So a lot of distressing news from the hurricane front. Okay, let's get into politics. This bothers me, and I predicted it. So now remnants of Black Lives Matter and other radicals are demanding that the statue of Thomas Jefferson be removed in Charlottesville, Virginia. Charlottesville was founded by Thomas Jefferson, as was the University of Virginia down there. Now, I've gone over this. I don't want to be repetitive, but killing England out 6 days from today goes into Thomas Jefferson, his relationship with his slaves, all of the things that these people are demanding that he be condemned for now. George Washington as well. Washington is next. So I think you should read the book, get the facts, and then decide for yourself, but this is not going to stop. The radical left wants to wipe out all remnants of our history, redo the Constitution. They feel that is a white supremacist situation, the Constitution of the United States. The far left thinks it's a white supremacist deal. So that's where this is all heading. There's always a reason. In New York City, in Central Park, the Columbus statue vandalized. And this is not going to stop. And in California, Junipero Serra, the missionary, his statue was vandalized. Here they come. Here they come. The radical left. Unchecked. Unchecked. People fear them. And it's a big tie-in to the media, big tie-in to academia. I'm going to get into that in a moment. They're feared. The far left is feared in this country, and they know it. It's not just the Antifa violent people. It's people working behind the scenes to smear, to destroy. And boy, oh boy, it's really, really getting bad. Now, in Utah, Orem, Utah, one of the most conservative places in the United States, there is a school, the Utah Valley University. This school, according to The Fix, we interviewed the president of The Fix yesterday here on the podcast. If you didn't see it, I hope you'll watch it. The Fix is, they monitor universities and schools, what's going on across the country. Anyway, at the Utah Valley University, they now have a behavior assessment team. And they are telling the faculty to report, quote, inappropriate language, argumentative language, or students who speak, quote unquote, too loudly. That would be me. So now, the behavior assessment teams are in place at this university, and I assume others, they may not call them that, but it's the same thing, that if you get out of line and say something they don't like, you could be expelled or sanctioned in some way. Okay? So this was reported to the Fix by a college professor, all right, who sees it as a tool of intimidation, not a tool to foster inclusion. And that's what it is. That's what it is. You can't have people evaluating opinion. Well, that opinion's okay, but this one isn't. You know, now, there is some good news. That teacher in Georgia, the high school teacher in Georgia, who told two students who were wearing Make America Great Again shirts that they were akin to the Nazis, that teacher has been reassigned, all right, has been sanctioned. I mean, you gotta draw the line here. Okay, now this thing at this university is frightening, all right, and then the Fix called the university to try to have a conversation with them. Of course, they didn't get back to the Fix because they know that this is exactly what the Third Reich did. Exactly what Joseph Stalin did in Russia. Exactly. You don't toe the party line, you're out, and we'll hurt you. That's what's happening all across this country. In California, Governor Brown is going to sign a sanctuary state law. This is another crazy thing. All right. Now, this is all about amnesty and open borders. That's what this is about. Okay? So, Brown, the governor, is ordering all state employees, all right, to not cooperate fully with immigration enforcement at the federal level. So all employees are, he's using the word restrict your cooperation with the feds on immigration matters. This is like what happened before the Civil War. It's a nullification. So the state of California doesn't like the federal laws on immigration, so it's saying we're not going to enforce them, and we're going to tell our employees not to cooperate with you. It's bad. It's bad. Now, the bigger picture is the people running the state, the legislature in Sacramento, overwhelmingly liberal Democrat, as is the governor. They want all illegal aliens here to get amnesty, with a few exceptions, or, violent felons maybe. They want amnesty for everybody here. They also want open borders, that we shouldn't be patrolling our borders. We should let everybody in who wants to come in. Now, how do I know this? Because I've interviewed them all. Not every single one of them, but all the factions. And when you ask them, do you support a border wall? No. Do you support penalties, strict penalties, for those caught crossing the border? No. Do you support extradition back to their home country immediately after they're caught crossing the border illegally? No. Why? Because they're refugees. So everybody comes in here as a refugee. Everybody can have a sob story. Everybody can. Look, people in Mexico, Central and South America, they're poor. And oftentimes they come from violent societies. That's true. So anyway, the reason this is happening, this defiance of the federal government on immigration for the state of California and other states as well, is because they want ultimately to have the full amnesty and the open borders. That's what this is all about. Now, what can Washington do to the state of California? Well, they can do the same thing the Justice Department is doing by withholding money from certain law enforcement agencies that aren't cooperating. All right? So that's what the Justice Department is doing now. President Trump could say, okay, if you pass this law restricting cooperation by California state employees with our federal people, we could cut off all money to you. Could do that. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? It's already lawsuits all over the place over DACA, the Dreamers, being the executive order being rescinded by President Trump. It's already, now, Trump will win those because he has the authority to do that in the court of law. But in the court of public opinion, you cut off all federal funding to the state of California, largest state in the union. A lot of people are going to get hurt. So you see where this is going. I mean, if you look back to this society, and, there used to be a debate over gay marriage. No more. If you're against gay marriage, you're a homophobe. You're a bigot. Okay? That's prevailing wisdom. Okay? There used to be a debate about having children out of wedlock. No more. If you criticize that situation, people raising children without resources, with no father in the home, or whatever it may be, you're anti-poor, you're a bigot. This is what happened. If you use the term illegal alien, you're a bigot. And the reason it gets a foothold is because of the media. Because the media goes along and encourages this, and then trains its guns on people who dissent, marginalizing, attacking, smearing. That's what's happening. And people, they're trying to make a living, trying to raise their families, they're trying to get through life. They're not locked in on the subtleties of all of this. It was almost a miracle that Hillary Clinton, who's now out, pushing her book, lost the election. And the reason she lost is that many Americans in their hearts know this country's not going in the right direction. They know that. Now, keeping all of that in mind that I've just told you about the statue attacks, the college craziness, the state of California, you then have a media that has to cover all this. So how are they doing it? There is a group called the Media Research Center, and I've known them for 2 decades since I started doing analysis on television. They're pretty good. They're a conservative outfit, but their studies very rarely get impeached. I mean, they do very micro studies. So they are looking at, this summer, the coverage of President Trump in a very small way by the 3 network news nightly broadcasts and the weekend broadcasts. That's what they study. They found that 91% of the coverage this summer was negative on Donald Trump. 91%. All right, in addition, 40% of all the coverage was on Trump. Just to give you a comparison, in the same period of time, 10% of the coverage was on Barack Obama in 2016. So it went from 10 to 40, and 91% of the 40 is negative. You don't need a calculator to add this up. So this is a tsunami of negativity toward Donald Trump. Let's bring in Rich Noyes. He is the research director at the Media Association. And the Media Research Center, I should say. So, Rich, this didn't surprise you. I know it didn't surprise you, correct?
No, it didn't. We saw the same negativity in the campaign. We saw the same negativity in the first 100 days of the administration. What's amazing is there's no let-up. I mean, this is just continuing the media trying to discredit Donald Trump, and the public has heard it over and over again, and they're not buying it.
Well, the public may not be buying it to the extent that they see through, but Donald Trump's approval rating, job approval rating, hovers between 35 and 40%. So it must be taking some toll.
Well, it's a little bit lower than it was when he took office. He was in the mid to high 40s then. But, the people who opposed him all throughout the campaign still oppose him. The people who are with him don't find all this negative coverage to be discrediting. I think a lot of them think that if ABC, CBS, and NBC are so strident in being against Donald Trump, he must be doing something right. They think of almost as a certification of his presidency, all this media opposition, as opposed to something that should make them think twice.
Okay, so I agree there could be a backlash, but there are a lot of people in the middle, and that's who elects presidents this time, the independents, people in the middle, they're not ideologues. This has got to have an effect on them. Although the nightly news is not what it used to be, we understand that. It permeates into newspapers, it permeates into cable TV, it permeates all over the place. So they're trying to marginalize Donald Trump in any way they can, they being the mainstream media. Okay. Why are they trying to do it? Do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, I think they were horrified when he jumped into the race in 2015, and they almost immediately began trying to ridicule him with their coverage. And then, as he won the Republican nomination and was competitive in the fall election, you saw something. The New York Times was probably the signal. Jim Rutenberg, their media writer, wrote something that was put on the front page of the paper in August of 2016, basically suggesting that reporters could put aside objectivity to go after Trump because he was such a different kind of a candidate. Well, what the media were doing was rationalizing them becoming partisans. And we'd seen it earlier with issues like global warming or gay marriage, where they decide, there's really only one right side, and we're not going to cover this, as they call it, false equivalence, where they, covering both sides and letting the public make up their own minds is no longer in vogue. That is now part of their day-to-day political coverage. And, they're using Trump as an excuse. But one of the things inside of our study, there's a lot of personal controversies around Donald Trump, what he tweets. The Obamacare repeal, which was a straight up right versus left policy debate, was covered 97% negative. That's as one-sided as the media coverage of Charlottesville against Donald Trump, which, was seen as one of these hot button issues. Well, Charlottesville was personal to Trump. You could see why the media would get excited about that. But Obamacare repeal was covered with the same one-sided tone, which means it's into all policy debates now. It's probably here to stay.
Okay. Do you consider this a threat to the republic, this overwhelming bias that the national media has?
Not really, because, again, if you look at the public, if the media was as well respected as they were, say, a generation ago, I think President Trump's ratings would be about 15% given all this. The media I think they're cementing a lot of negative opinions about President Trump that may not have been as solid before all this coverage, but they're also solidifying the view that they're partisans and they're not, umpires in the game any longer, but they're political players. So they're discrediting themselves as well as trying to hurt a president. I think they're sort of pulling themselves out of the relevance that they used to have. That may be a problem, but I think it means that other media will take over and it'll become more of a free-for-all in the media landscape, but not something where the public will be led around by the media. I just don't see that either.
But there's one thing that if you say, okay, now the other media will compensate, the power that they still have, the national media on television and in the newspapers, is being used to destroy anybody who would go up against them, say a Trump supporter or somebody like that. So they say, not only are we going to get Trump, but we're going to get anybody who supports Trump. And those people are getting hurt.
Yeah, and it's going to be and I don't see that ending anytime soon. It'll be very divisive. You're going to see an awful lot of smear coverage back and forth. It is going to be a rough and tumble time, a lot more like, I guess, the way the partisan media was in the early days of the Republic. But then it was newspapers. It wasn't this in-your-face television and internet news that is a lot harder to avoid. But, I think at least the system will balance itself out, and citizens are going to get much more alert to the news and the agenda behind the news, because there's going to be an awful lot of agenda-driven news over the next few years.
All right, Rich, we really appreciate you coming in. Thanks for the good study. And I see it a little bit more, I should say, I see it a little bit more urgent, because I feel that these media chieftains now are in business to destroy. Yeah. And no more rules. Their rules are gone of journalism. Okay. One other story of interest today, median income for middle-class Americans up. So in 2016, the median income, that means half working Americans made more, half less, all right, rose 3% from 2015 up to $59K. So if you're making $59,000, half make more, half make less. That was the biggest jump in a while. And the reason is that the economy is getting stronger. Now, Donald Trump didn't have anything to do with that, but he can build on that, particularly if he gets a tax cut. So that was the last year of Barack Obama, and finally, median income went up. Now, in the group of income, this is interesting. Asian Americans' median income, $81,000. That's far and away the highest. White Americans, $65,000. All right, remember, the median for all is $59,000. Hispanic Americans, $48,000. Black Americans, $40,000. Okay, $40K for blacks, $48 for Hispanics, $65 for whites, $81 for Asians. It's a pretty big spread. So then you would have to say, is there Asian privilege in the country, right? All right, now, I have to do some stuff that I don't really understand. Maybe I'll do the mail first, putting this off. We're doing a whole bunch of high-tech stuff that you should know about, but I have no blanking clue how this all happens. But I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. All right, let's get to the mail. Beverly in Plymouth, North Carolina. I don't believe President Trump will be heard if tax cuts break down. We all see how hard he's trying, and Democrats are against everything he does. There are just enough Republicans that absolutely do not want him to succeed. I believe and I pray I'm right that these Republicans will lose their bids for re-election. You know, it's more than that, though. It's not party politics. It's a perception of leadership. You're right. Democrats are going to sabotage tax cuts. You're right. There are selected Republicans who don't want Donald Trump to succeed as president. But he's got to somehow rally this and get it done. Because if you have a president in office who can't get anything done for you, it may not be fair, but it's going to be tough for him to win re-election. He knows it. He knows it. Francis in Pueblo, Colorado. Bill, please get a message to President Trump that he needs to go to the people. Tell them he needs to pass tax cut. He is. He's going. Once a week, he's going out to a different place to bang the tax drum thing for you guys, right? You know, a whole rally. So he's on that. He's on that. Now, I didn't tell him to do that. I don't tell him to do anything. That was just a policy that they came up with. Jan Kaufman, Olympia, Washington. Not only am I a premium member, but I also subscribe to Rush Limbaugh and listen to his program, as I have for many years. I heard his comments about hurricanes, and he in no way denied the coming storm, its possible impact, or diminished the need to evacuate. The left press is always after him, as they are you, Bill, and they misreport his views constantly. Thank you for your supportive analysis of his situation. It's my job. My job to tell you the truth. Rush Limbaugh is a big guy. When I heard about him getting derided because he was forced to evacuate Palm Beach, I said, this isn't fair. What was he supposed to do? Defy it? So then we look back at a transcript of his remarks, and he was just saying that hurricanes can be politicized, which is absolutely true. So that's my job, tell you the truth. Barbie Remigado in Branchburg, New Jersey. I told my daughter, who wants a child very much, not to have children. There's too much evil in the world. To make matters worse, it seems that evil is winning over good. Can this really be true? No, I don't believe that. I think there is a powerful force of evil. We see it in ISIS. We see it here in the United States, in people murdering other people, selling narcotics. We see it. But I essentially believe that more people are good than evil. The problem we have in America is that we're not embracing the traditional values that made us strong in the first place. That's what you're seeing. We have radical leftists and some crazy neo-Nazis. There are not many of them, but they're there, trying to tear the fabric of this society down. And they're making headway. Not so much the Nazis, but the radical leftists. They're making headway. John Giordano, Sacramento, California. What's your opinion on Attorney General Sessions not wanting to prosecute Lois Lerner? You know, I think the Attorney General should have a press conference and explain it. Because I don't know. I mean, Ms. Lerner took the fifth. She retired, all of this. Obviously, she did some bad stuff. So I think Sessions should explain it to the folks why he said no prosecution. It's fair, right? Andrea Rose, Los Angeles. I laughed out loud when you ended the podcast the other day. After giving the word of the day, you said when writing to the Factor. 20 years, 6 months. It's a long time. Michelle George, Minden, Nevada. Thank you again, Bill, for your insightful commentary. I go on vacation in Grand Cayman. Nice place. I love being a premium member because I can watch you anywhere I go. I take the technology with me. That's the beauty of the podcast, Michelle. And I don't think the Caymans got whacked too badly in the storm. Suzanne Collins, Tucson, Arizona. I have to tell you that the University of Arizona is in Tucson, not Tempe. I knew it. I was wrong when I said it. I got a bunch of letters like that. I knew I was wrong, Suzanne. I said, you know what? It's down in Tucson, and Arizona State is in Tempe, which is the case. Brooke Smith, Manson, Washington, Indigenous Peoples Day. My understanding that the tribes that won conflicts either killed their foes or took them for slaves. So California is commemorating violence and slavery. Brooks, I went through this. Some of the Native American tribes were very enlightened and did not do that kind of stuff. Others were brutal. And I mean, it's just the truth. So for Los Angeles to knock out Columbus Day and replace it with Indigenous Peoples Day, when you were absolutely right, some tribes put captives in slavery and the tortures were unbelievable, is dumb. And this isn't a diminishment of Native Americans. I mean, it's not that at all. It's a historical thing. There is no group that is perfect. And if you're going to replace Columbus with, something you do not understand, that's just dumb. Carla Sisson, Houston. Recently visited my brother in Merritt Island, Florida, and we watched your podcast every night. Thoroughly enjoy it, and he encouraged me to sign up for premium membership before the price goes up. He said that he and my sister-in-law are going to see you in Tampa. Yes, we're going down to Tampa to raise everybody's spirits a week from Saturday. Okay? We'll be there a week from Saturday at the Amalie Arena. We're going to have a blast, Miller and I, with you, Miller and me. So if you're in the area in Florida and you want to have a few laughs and get away from it, the Amalie Arena wasn't damaged. We'll be there a week from Saturday. A week from Friday, we'll be in Baltimore, Royal Farms Arena. So these are great shows, and you'll like them. And we'll hook you over to the box office. Just go on BillO'Reilly.com. We have a little thing for you there. Esther, Englewood, Colorado, outside of Denver. Love that the professor corrected the term mankind to humankind. I never, as a woman, felt included when professors talk about when men walked the earth. I literally visualized a male, like there were no women around. So some progressiveness is a good thing. It's nice to feel included in the making of history. Nothing wrong with correcting an outdated terminology. Esther, I do not disagree that humankind is probably a better word to use when describing the general condition of human beings at a point in history. But if you deduct points from a student's paper because he used the grammatically correct masculine noun, then you're an idiot. But I cede your point. Humankind is more inclusive. Gene, New Smyrna Beach. I always say that wrong. Is it Smyrna Beach? New Smyrna Beach, Florida. What a wonderful news program you have. No other like it. Cable's garbage. I'm thrilled you came up with this podcast. I appreciate that, Gene. And Greg in Crestwood, Missouri. Bill, thank you for putting all the kids' books on sale. I'm now retired. Was able to purchase all of the killing books for my oldest grandson. Well, we do it for the urchins. 50% off all the children's history books. We hope you go in there. Once again, Killing England out in 6 days. Pre-order it. You get 50% off any of the other killing books. Okay, now here's our deal. We have all kinds of new media to spread the word about BillO'Reilly.com and our daily newscast. So you can follow me on Twitter at Bill O'Reilly. My email, bill@BillO'Reilly.com, or the message boards, whichever you prefer, bill@BillO'Reilly.com. Now, if I tweet pretty much every day, so you want those. We're on Facebook. I don't know why or how, but we're on Facebook. We have an Instagram account, and the Instagram account stars Holly the Corgi, who's becoming a huge star. We just launched apps, 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 no idea, on Apple TV, Roku, ROKU, and Amazon Fire TV. We have a podcast on iTunes. I'm on the Blaze every Friday with Beck, but it'll be tomorrow I'm on with Beck. This is just this week. Okay? I write a weekly column for thehill.com. And if you show up and do this Amazon Fire TV or Apple TV or Roku, you can put this podcast on your television set. That's what they tell me. Or you can put it on a giant screen somewhere. It's amazing with all this stuff. But thank God for it, right? I never in a million years thought I'd be using social media and all this stuff, but it's working. It's working. Thanks for being premium members. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.